TopMedTalk.
Well, good morning and welcome to the first ever Pocapalooza. We are traveling around the world in 24 hours, chatting with members of the International Board of Perioperative Medicine, friends of the EBPOM family, and world authorities in perioperative medicine. I'm Desiree Chappell, managing editor of TopMedTalk, and I'll be anchoring our journey across the globe celebrating this perioperative care festival. Now, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, because, this is all virtual and this is the way we're making it work now. But I'm joined by our host, who needs no introduction, Monty Mythen in London, England. Hello, Monty.
Hey, Desiree. It's great to be here. It's a relief to be here. Let's put it that way. Out of the TopMedTalk studios in Brentford. Day 3. I think it's going really well so far. I think we're getting away with it, but now we're about to push our luck and start this thing called the Pocapalooza.
We are, Monty.
What that's all about.
That's right. Well, for our listeners, just tell them a little bit more about it.
Well, we're brainstorming various different ideas about how we could broaden the engagement and interest in perioperative care, but also give it a global, a global sense. Because we work in very different worlds with very different resources available. And we're trying to think of a summary term that said it was going to be a sort of big global sharing of ideas. And I'd heard of the Palooza, which I think is reasonably well known in the USA. And I'd been to a data palooza in Washington, which was a big global brainstorming event about using data, big data, artificial intelligence in medicine. And I thought, well, Pocapalooza sounds kind of cool. So it's a perioperative care palooza. Please do look up Palooza if you haven't looked before. It's an extravagant, ambitious event. So we're mixing in a global conversation with live entertainment. We've got house bands playing tonight. We've got Jeremy Sassoon has recorded a jazz concert for us. We've got poetry readings. We've got yoga classes, mindfulness, and our lovely friends from around the world.
That's right. It sounds amazing. Well, it's super exciting. I know it's something.
And a T-shirt.
Well, then it's totally legitimate now.
We've got a T-shirt. Yeah, so it must be real.
That's right. Well, Monty, in addition to all these wonderful activities that we have, we're supporting a very important mission.
Yeah. So I think we'll touch on it in a second. We were at the Prato meeting, which is one of our guests will explain more about in a moment. And at that, one of our very dear friends, Bruce Biccard from Cape Town in South Africa, I think really stunned us by reiterating some of the challenges in delivering perioperative care elsewhere in the world. I'll let him speak to that and or listen to the TopMedTalk podcast as well. Yeah. But we promised at the time that we would help to raise some money for what, I think humbled us all, made think this is really, really, really important work. So we set up a Just Giving page. The concert tonight is for Protea Live, which is a name that Professor Mike Grocott came up with. He'll explain how he tortured perioperative care, etc., to be Protea later. And the Just Giving page is there, and we're raising money for the African Perioperative Research Group that we'll hear more about in a moment, I think.
Yeah. So we're so happy that we could tie that into the fest today. And again, we'll learn more about it. And at the end of this, we'll give all the details about how to give from your heart to support this amazing mission. Well, let's get straight into it, Monty. Our first guest today, we have Paul Myles from Monash University.
Desiree, it's wonderful to hear from you. You can hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Yep. So, Paul, I must say, in joining, we're pivoting here off the International Board of Perioperative Medicine, which was formed relatively recently. And for those of you who don't know the International Board, you can find in our expo area a specific website link to the International Board of Perioperative Medicine. I'm lucky enough to be a founding co-president with Paul.
Paul, well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. This is international, and so we are at all different time zones, and I know it's getting pretty late for you there in Australia. So thank you for that. Now, Monty was telling a little bit more about EBPOM, but tell us a little bit more about what you do there at Monash.
We set up initially a short course and then a master's degree in perioperative medicine around about 10 years ago now, in large part because I had a sense that there was a lot more training and education required, especially for anaesthesiologists, but also other perioperative doctors. to really get a better sense of what integrated collaborative care was all about in the whole patient journey through particularly major surgery. And college-based training, of course, is very essential. It really sets us up as being high-quality doctors, but probably not fully trained across the full breadth of what perioperative medicine is. And it is an evolving field or specialty even itself. So I just felt there was a gap there, really. If we're going to call ourselves perioperative physicians, or others were calling themselves perioperative physicians, we needed to actually have that underpinned by proper additional training. I think it is a subspecialty. So we began that course development, and it's been immensely successful. There's clearly an unmet need. It quickly became very popular, certainly across Australia and New Zealand, and now expanding through Asia and other parts of the world. So that was our initial experience. Now, of course, we are not the only people to think about or train in perioperative medicine. There's many like-minded individuals, including this very group on this telecast, and of course many others around the world. So I have a strong belief in collaboration in research as well as clinical practice. So it was a natural thing, certainly for me and others at Monash, and I guess others around the world, was to link in and get the best of what everybody was either thinking about or planning or in fact doing. So it's just been, I think, a really successful transition or program over these years. So an international board of perioperative medicine is an essential component of more formally linking up these different entities, different interests, not just in anaesthesiology, but also areas of physician practice, critical care, surgery, of course, aged care and so on, palliative care, end-of-life care, even community practice. All of this, I think, has an important role. And the purpose of the International Board is to bring in different specialties, different points of view, and especially different parts of the world, and with that, of course, diversity in all its forms, so that we actually can think the very broadest way and provide material that would be of interest and partly context specific, now obviously in the future.
Yeah, and you guys have developed some curriculum that can be utilized throughout the world, anywhere you are. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, that's been a really good part of this. I mean, obviously, in our own part of the world, as we build up our own master degree in perioperative medicine, we needed a curriculum, we needed learning objectives and so on, and equally that needs to be thought through in a more global level. I mean, what we might require in Australia could be quite different in other parts of the world, both high-income and low-income countries, and again, according to the type of healthcare settings that exist as well. All of these factors are important. So having a curriculum that recognises that diversity, and equally the needs that might be required in different parts of the world, and even by different people who play a role in perioperative medicine. So that has been part of our coordination work in this first year or so, as we've gone from the concept into a truly working international board.
Well, that's fantastic. We definitely look forward to hearing more about that over the course of our travels on the Pocapalooza, for sure. Now, Paul, one of the things that we wanted to chat with you today about was the meeting that you started in Prato, Italy, the clinical trials. Yes, and so this past year, 2019, I guess, was the first time I was able to attend, and I'm just blown away by the quality of the meeting. Just it was like we were at a think tank, and it was really, really great. So for our listeners, can you tell us a little bit more about that meeting?
Desiree, thank you for the plug. That's really good. I love medicine. I love anaesthesiology, but I love trying to do all we can to, speed up the development of our understanding and improvements in care. I think that's really fundamental. And again, my professional practice has got pillars of clinical practice, research and quality improvement, and of course education and training. Now, I am a researcher. That's my greatest passion, aside from surfing. The best research is large-scale, pragmatic, randomised controlled trials. And I'll argue that passionately till the day I die. And we need look no further than the current COVID pandemic around the world right now to realise that we need reliable answers to incredibly important healthcare problems. Now, this is the same challenge we have in perioperative medicine. Whereas we know that the elderly, those with comorbidities, frailty and so on, make up the bulk of the serious complications and poor outcomes after surgery. We also know that if we do everything really well and really well coordinated, we can get highly reliable, good quality results a lot more often. And I think large, pragmatic, multi-centre international trials is one of the important mechanisms of generating knowledge and also generating the questions that we need to address that are perhaps considered most important to both us and our patients. So the Prato meeting is an international collaborative trials collective. I've run it through our Monash University Centre in Prato in the beautiful area of Tuscany in Italy. Monash University is based in Melbourne, Australia. It's a great city, but nobody could not want to come to Italy. So it happens in June every second year. It's our winter time. I'm looking forward to the next meeting, which is going to happen June 2021, and I am very confident there'll be a vaccine, and I'm very confident we'll all be there enjoying it. So the purpose of that meeting is for what I see as the leading trialists in anaesthesiology, perioperative medicine and surgery and so on from around the world, from all parts of the world, to come together to discuss problems, trials in planning or in progress, but equally to present results of the major trials, debate their importance or their interpretation or their application, and really, where possible, work out ways that we can work more closely together. So we've got I've been working with the Australian New Zealand College of Anaesthetics Clinical Trials Network. Now, it's been going now for, really officially more than 20 years. But Australia and New Zealand's a great part of the world, but it's a small part of the world. We need to link in much more with other parts of the world, obviously UK, rest of Europe, North America, South America, Asia, of course Africa, and everywhere else. And the best part of what we're doing is, I think, when we work in all those areas on mutual interest, come up with solutions to problems that we all share.
Well,
and it works. So that's the best part.
Yeah, it does. Oh, it was so great. Just all the conversations you hear about ideas and everything happening, and it was great. So, Monty?
Yeah,
and there's the food. Remember the food, so that's good.
So good. The whole thing was amazing.
Paul, there's a limited number of spaces at the meeting. Stop.
That's true. Sorry.
We like to hype it up. It is.
But maybe maybe like with TopMedTalk was there last time, maybe we'll be able to share to a much more global audience next time. But I was reflecting at the beginning, Paul, last time, an amazing meeting. We were hearing relentless results or plans for large prospective randomized controlled trials, international collaborations about drug A versus drug B or transfusions. And then Bruce Biccard presented, and I think we all fell a bit silent, really. We were amazingly impressed, but also a bit of a kind of reality check, as if to say,
Yeah, I agree. It blew my mind when I heard Bruce Biccard present results of their first African surgical outcome study. I think everybody in the audience was just overwhelmed by the quality and importance of the work that was being done. I think everybody, of course, wants to both know more, but equally, in any way possible, facilitate any further work, particularly in the African setting, but even other many parts of the world. It really was so impressive. And we're lucky at the Prato meeting to typically have quite a lot of the anaesthesiology journal editors there. In fact, most of the editors-in-chief and many other editors are there. and we always have at least one or more of the editors of the major medical journals, the Lancet, Women's Journal, and so on. Got some big surprises for you next year, but I'll leave that for another day. But yes, but of course, Jocelyn Clark was there, who was the executive editor of the Lancet, and she was just so impressed with it, and then took the opportunity to really have face-to-face conversation and meeting with Bruce, and I think led to a mutually great outcome for the study and also, of course, the publication. And always, most importantly, the dissemination of the results to a really big audience.
Yeah. Well, Monty, why don't you introduce our next guest?
Bruce, come and join us. Hey, man, how are you?
Hi, Monty. Fine, thanks. Hi, Desiree. Hi, Paul. Thanks for this opportunity. And also, thanks to all of you for what you've done for what we're trying to do. It's most appreciated.
Well, Bruce, we can't tell you how much we really appreciate you taking the time out of the work that you're doing to join us here for the Pocapalooza. And we are just so fortunate, I feel like, that we were able to be all in the same place when we were at Prato and meet you and hear your story and on TopMedTalk be able to share your story. I think it's been something that's been really important to us to do. So for our listeners and our viewers today, can you please just give us a little bit about your background, where you're located and what you do there?
I'm in Cape Town. I'm an anaesthetist. I think probably over time I've become more interested in like a broader public health perspective of anesthesia and surgery, and that's probably forced me to become engaged in the type of work we're involved in now continentally. I'm also a very strong advocate for pragmatism and generalizability, and I'm a nerd. I'm definitely a nerd. So I enjoy research, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to participate in research which has been led by Paul and been led by PJ Deborah in Canada. But I think the biggest influence on the way I think has been working with Rupert Pearce and his ability to share his research protocols with us. They've been very pragmatic, and I think he's been a fantastic mentor for the direction we're going.
Great. And Rupert was involved with the ASOS, correct? Am I correct? The European Surgical Outcomes Study, and then so you based your study on that. So it's the African Surgical Outcomes Study, correct? Can you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
Sure. I heard Rupert present ASOS at EBPOM, and I was blown away by it. I just loved the pragmatism. I spoke to Rupert about it. He shared the protocol, and we ran it in South Africa, and that was called ASOS. And then he was at that time doing ASOS, and then we said we want to do ASOS, which is like an African ASOS. And basically, very pragmatic research. It's got 2 pages of a CRF. The 1 page is just very basic demographic and risk factor type variables. And the 2nd page were surgical complications. And we literally built a network, myself and Prof. Madiba, who was head of surgery at KZN at the time. That's Kwazulu-Natal. And we cold called across Africa. We sent emails, we just made contact with people we knew, and every time we got a response, we asked to be introduced to other people. And if we got a response in French, we went straight to Google Translate and quickly worked it out and responded in French. And it was amazing. And Paul's right, Prato meeting was incredible for ASOS. Because it hadn't been published yet, and it was the first time just talking about the results. Jocelyn Clark was fantastic. I think the Lancer is it's quite emotional material when you find a signal that people are twice as likely to die if they have surgery in Africa than elsewhere. That's super sensitive, super emotional. It could be really handled badly. I think it was handled beautifully by the Lancet in a very mature way. The message was clear. The reason for the message, we're almost certain it's a human factor thing, that we just don't have enough human resources. And patients are missed in the post-op period, and there's failure to rescue. So there's a really useful signal. I think the whole thing was really good, and the amazing thing is it built this network of like-minded people across Africa. So really, if you talk about ASOS, you're talking about 1,000 people across Africa who are just working clinicians who believe in research, who want to make a difference, who have limited resources, but they believe they've got the power to do it. And I think it's a beautiful thing.
It really is. And we'll signpost people to the conversation that we had with you at Prato, where we were able to dive in a little bit deeper on that, which I think is very important to have a listen to that. Well, Bruce, I would love to continue to talk about ASOS, but we have another guest that has played a very important role and will continue to play a very important role in perioperative medicine in Africa there. Please introduce our next guest.
So I'd like to introduce Salome Maswime. Salome is the head of global surgery at UCT. This is a new initiative. I think we're just about celebrating our first year, as Salome is a phenomenal researcher and advocate for global surgery. She's an obstetrician by training. Salome.
Hi, Salome.
Hi, thank you very much. Really excited to be part of this.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to meet you. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. Salome, can you tell us a little bit more about your work that you're doing right now?
Okay, so as Bruce just mentioned, I joined UCT about a year ago, but I've known Bruce at least for the past 5, 6, 7 years. And I met Bruce when he initially started the South African ASOS, the South African Surgical Outcomes Study. And so it was at a time where I was doing my research looking at cesarean section outcomes. And, I got excited about the work that they were doing and decided to join the group, and mainly as an obstetrician, wanting to focus on the cesarean section work. And so I was part of the cesarean section sub-study on ASOS. And so, I think one thing has led to another. And so being part of ASOS and being part of this compelling message that we need to improve surgical outcomes and perioperative care in Africa was a very compelling reason to join UCT and also to become part of global surgery. And it goes back to what Myles was saying earlier, that wanting to be part of the solution and finding solutions. And so in our context, it really spoke to finding African solutions for the problems that we're having. And so through global surgery, I've been able to create a team, a network of experts in Africa that are really looking to find solutions. And it's quite a big group, but Bruce is part of the team and heads up the research component of what we're doing. We do implementation as well, trying to practically create solutions. And I head up the education component of global surgery, and this is really the academic side of global surgery. So it's still early days, but I think in the past year, we've been able to set up or to create a great team and network of people that are looking to improve surgical outcomes and multidisciplinary. We're working with the surgeons, we're working with the School of Public Health as well.
Salome, if I may, it's great to meet you again. I was privileged to meet you personally relatively recently, pre-COVID, so great to see you again. When we met, you explained some of your research. I put one of those quotes in our fundraising page about the difference in outcome following caesarean section in Johannesburg, based on some of your. And this is a very sobering, quite shocking to people, but as Bruce said earlier, important data to share. So can you remind us what the stark differences are?
I did a lot of this work on cesarean sections as part of my PhD. And initially, when we got into it, we thought, okay, we're going to find, looking at it through an obstetric lens and thinking the problems are really in theatre. But what we found was that, it was really health systems issues and issues around healthcare workers, the shortage of specialists. And so the real conclusion from a lot of the work that I've done was that, patients don't survive cesarean section in health systems that are weak, but it's in multidisciplinary settings within a functional health system where patients do well. So a lot of the work that I've done, quite similar to what has come out of ASOS, really reiterates that you need multidisciplinary teams, you need functional health systems in order to improve surgical outcomes.
And Salome, one of the on our Just Giving page, the photograph I chose was of the Rugby World Cup. Personally, it translates very well to me. Is that there's a local boy holding up the Rugby World Cup who was given opportunity to beat the whole world, and it's really opportunity that's the important thing, not people coming from elsewhere they tried to come and showed them how to play rugby and it didn't work. So I hope that image is appropriate.
Yes, it is. And I mean, I like to use the controversial statement which says nothing about us without us. And I think the global surgery move is really saying let's all work together in improving outcomes. And at least as locals, we have a good understanding of the challenges that we face. And together we can improve, we can change things.
Yeah.
Well, I've just noticed the time, Desiree.
That's right. I know.
We're going to have to start shortly.
Yes, we are. So, Salome, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. I really hope we can do another TopMedTalk conversation with you and record a longer piece more about your work there, because I think it's amazing, and you are busy. You're a busy woman. So we really appreciate it. Bruce, Paul, if you could come back. Thank you all for the time that you've taken to share your stories and to share your experiences in perioperative medicine. I think this is going to be a wonderful start to a very long lifespan of Pocapalooza, and that we can do it again and again at every EBPOM meeting and continue to go around the world. Please, 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 if you are, if you can go to the expo page on our conference site and visit the APORG tent, the African Perioperative Research Group tent, and you can give there. You can give through a Pocapalooza tent. We'll put links in the show notes for everything that we do. Open your hearts, open your wallets, give, because obviously from what you heard today, it's going to be supporting research and very important things there. So yes,
main stage in 2 minutes for day 3. It's about 2 minutes. I think I'm not nervous because it's actually just over there. It'll look quite different, but they're starting to shout at me.
Okay, but
we're going round the world today, Desiree, aren't we? Quick thumbnail sketch and finishing. We hope right back here in Cape Town. Remind us our schedule.
Yep. So Cape Town, London, US East, we're going to Chicago, LA, over to Sydney, Hong Kong, and back to South Africa.
We hope.
So, yeah, we'll make it. All right. Thanks, guys, so much. Cheers. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
TopMedTalk. Nick Majerison here. Have you got yourself onto ebpom.org yet? If not, you might not be aware, EBPOM Chicago. Tickets are free for a limited period only. Go now to ebpom.org. Evidence-based perioperative medicine. ebpom.org.